fence is typical of what's the old. That'd be probably 50-year-old fence, but it's in reasonable nick. So that's what they call the old netting fence.
The old netting fence.
Yep. So that's what most of our boundaries are.
Zoom in on that.
So they're still stock-proof, but they are old.
Yeah.
And some I've replaced.
So you just replace it as required or as necessary?
Yeah, yes, you make it. It's up around $8 a metre now, so you make it last as long as you can.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're not cheap to do. So just shut that gate and
okay, take it on.
Originally this was all part of the property called Kookaburra.
Okay.
So the grid was where that old post is up there.
Right.
But it was quite dangerous and you're liable for grids if they're on your place. So you've got to
cattle grids obviously.
Cattle grid, yeah. So you've got to maintain them. So there's the old grid there. That's why that's all new fencing on the road here.
Yeah. So you've had a reasonably wettish summer, or enough rain this summer, but the last 3 weeks has been very dry. I just try to have a look.
Last 6 for us.
Last 6 weeks been dry.
Yeah, the feed's holding on quite well. There's a bit of green, so if we do get rain, it'll come back really quick. But our issue at the moment's water. In the sense that the creek's quite low and the dams are quite low. Like nothing's unusable yet, but we're keeping a pretty close eye on it. Now the paddocks with the troughs and the wall water are fine. That said, the windmill out the back's a bit hit and miss. The water level's that low that it's not pumping all the time.
Okay.
So, there's a lot of springs in this country, which has been amazing for me coming from South Australia.
Right.
Some of the there was 2 dams at Kookaburra that didn't even go dry in the drought. The springs just kept them okay for sheep anyway. Cattle might have been different. They need a lot more water, but we only had sheep on them at the time.
Right. Will we see some of the springs today?
Yes.
Great.
Yep. Well, you see the spring-fed dam, and you should be able to pick up where it runs in. So.
Yeah. So we're heading back. This is the main road. Is it Lower Pambiong?
Lower Pinebong.
Pinebong Road. Lower Pinebong Road. So we've left the smaller parcel of the land down the main road. We're going to go through the main entry to the property.
Did you want to look on both sides to the end and do a U-turn? Look,
that gives us a look on both sides. Yes. So through the portion that bisects the property or dissects the property.
Yeah, so we'll follow that. And you can see new fencing on the right, and the fencing on the left's probably only about 15 years old. So he replaced that side.
So that's your dam there?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, so that's the dam that's visible on the aerial as well.
Yep. Okay. So.
And that's obviously just fed from the semi-irregular flow from the...
Yeah, that's pretty much all catch water. It actually catches a lot off the road.
Right.
Yeah, okay. which is helpful, but that gully there. Now this creek has got holes in it. They do dry out when it does dry up. There's still water in it now.
Yeah.
But that pretty much stays green. Actually, this creek line here and the one up here during the drought was sort of keeping the lambs pretty fresh. We sort of did okay in the drought because we had a bit of feed and
so where are we now on this road roughly?
So we're just running down along here.
Right.
Yep. So that's on our right, that little block.
Yep.
And we'll go down to this
point
here,
there, do a U-turn
and come back and go down
to the main road. Okay.
So the fence that side's probably 15 years old. The previous owners did that, and then new on the other side. So.
Okay.
Creek on the right is a named creek, so it is fairly substantial for our area. Not massive, obviously. But
and is it always running, or does it dry out for a bit?
No, none of these creeks here run permanently. Pinebong Creek might run for, I think we saw it run for about 2 years without stopping.
Yeah.
But it'll always Pinebong Creek had water holes in it even during the drought. We still had 3 good water holes.
Yeah.
So, they were getting quite. The water quality was starting to go backwards, but there's still water there.
Still water there. Yeah.
So this is the end of that little block. So this is where the Pinebong runs to our sort of northern side, I suppose.
So down here.
Yeah, so we're
Right
just doing a U-turn here.
Yep.
Yeah, back up, so. So I would like to get hold of that property if I could, because that joins the two. So that's how close we
Right.
are.
It's like the missing piece of the jigsaw puzzle between your other property.
Yeah, well, the other property we bought, that bloke sold that separate because it was a 300-acre block.
Yeah.
So he sold that, and yeah, that joins the two. So we're not very far from the other place.
So with cattle grids, you're responsible. You're not. The council does the maintenance on these
No,
things.
that's the problem with the grids. You're responsible. So we're not responsible for this now because we've fenced both sides of the road.
Ah,
so
right,
we no
right.
longer rely on that.
Right. Yep. As a way of keeping stock. Yeah.
And that's why we pulled ours out. You're meant to maintain a 4-metre grid.
Yep.
Set to a certain tonnage based on your road.
Yeah.
Then you're also responsible for 30 metres each side of your grid. The council won't grade it for you.
Yeah.
So it's quite a big. They don't seem to do much about it, but the regulations around it are quite strict.
Yeah. So the arrangement. So this other portion here.
Yep.
Is that all one fence paddock or multiple paddocks?
No, that's one paddock.
One big paddock. Okay, so it's a.
Yep. And that would be probably our third biggest paddock.
Third biggest, yeah.
It's I've got it on my paperwork, but I think we've got 12 paddocks on Kookaburra.
12 altogether. Yep.
So, but yeah, that is one of the bigger ones. So.
Okay.
And it's actually new boundary fence in that little L shape as well.
Yeah.
It's only probably 5 years old. Same as that basically.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
I haven't done enough fertilising, but we used what's called Valuation rum when I first got here. I tried that, which is a liquid fertiliser.
Yeah.
Put it on at 5 litres a hectare, and yeah, seemed to have reasonable results. And then have fertilised again just with MAP and DAP. So yeah, it's,
Okay.
a little bit goes a long way in this country. This is what they call good breeding country, not fattening country.
Breeding country, not fattening country.
No, so,
yeah.
So breeding stock do really well, and you get your weaners to a certain size, but you won't get them really fat. It's just not that sort of
Right.
thing,
So you
not
don't
that-
finish here. You sell them. You sell them off to get finished elsewhere, or
Well, a lot of people will buy ours as restockers, and they'll put extra weight on them. But
Yep.
Jorpas in general aren't a big lamb, so they suit the trade market, they call it. So turning lambs off at that sort of 22 to 24 kilo carcass weight,
yes.
and that's what we aim for. So we won't get 30 kilogram carcass weight lambs. We'll only ever get that 22,
Right.
24.
So here we are at the front gate.
Yep.
Okay. And we're going to go into the main portion of the property. So we're coming in through this driveway here towards the dwelling.
Two dams in this paddock, so I could actually split it in half, but same thing. This is another good lamb paddock. It's fairly soft. It's got a gully through the middle, so the lambs sort of do pretty well on it.
Yeah.
Whereas as you can see, once you get out the back, there's some rougher, steeper, harder
Yeah.
country. So most of Kookaburra is reasonably soft, and
Yep.
a lot of it's the light red. So anywhere you see red out here is red basalt, and
Right.
that's the soil you want. So we have a lot of shale and light loam stuff.
Right.
But if there's red in it, it's generally pretty good.
So that's higher productivity for them.
Yeah, it holds on longer and responds to less rain than the rest of the block. So
Yeah.
basically, there's a gully that runs from here, and we follow a gully up to the top of the hill.
Yep.
Then we get out the back. There's another creek that runs through it. So around the creek lines tend to have the basalt. Now I don't know if that means it's just washed down over the years, whatever.
Yeah.
But anywhere you see a bit of red,
Bit of red.
the soil does pretty well here. So that's
Yeah.
sort of what you're after. But so the same thing, that dam there is actually spring fed. It did dry out in the drought,
Yeah.
and where the reeds are is an old well, and it was only 4 metres down, and there was pretty much water in the bottom of it all the
Right.
time.
So
But
you're.
I filled that in for kids' safety. So.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, there was an old well there, and they used to pump out of that. I'd say for the house.
Ah, right back in the day.
Yeah. So it was quite old. So
So how long has farming been on this property? 100 years or more?
Oh, easy. Mudgee's quite a reasonably early settled area, and I can sort of trace back nearly 100 years of owners that I know of just from talking to people in the area. So
is this a pet horse?
That's my wife's horse.
Okay.
Now, I'm not a fan of horses, but he's like a big dog, that horse. He comes up for a pat and a scratch, and he's actually a very lovely horse. So.
Okay.
Oh, so yeah, that tank on the hill feeds back down into here, so all the troughs and everything in these yards are fed from that poly tank. We'll head out the back, we'll show you the country and pick from you.
We'll come back and look at some of these farm improvements and make some assessments. So where we are, I'll just go onto the old map here. We are here at the house and farm improvements on the internal path, and we're going to head whereabouts are we heading? All the way back?
We are going to head all the way down through here.
Yep.
And head out to test me out here.
Okay.
Head out into here.
Yep.
And we may try and get up in there, but that's pretty rough for the ute. That's mainly buggy and motorbike.
Yep.
We'll go out through here. This is all really good country out this side. You'll see when we get over, it opens into that sort of red valley. So
all right.
We'll head down through here, just through the creek here, then out the back, and then come back again.
Great.
It always amazes me when they set this place up. It must have been very wet times.
Yes.
Because they've got a lot of catch holes, and even this dam here is purely to stop runoff.
It doesn't do anything other than hold the water from rushing around
so there's actually
the house area.
Two dams almost together. So much water comes down this gully when we get the storms. It is storm rain.
Yeah.
But it doesn't last heaps, that one. It's funny, the little dam behind it lasts longer, so it's probably got a spring there as well.
Yeah.
So we'll go down through that way. But yeah, that's why it's a sort of funny shape. So it was to get the water, I'd say, away from the house.
Yeah.
Where the house was. So. Hard to talk about the pastures now because it's a bit dry, but we get a lot of sort of native millet, paspalum and foxtail grass. I don't know the scientific names of most of them, but
so for the uninitiated, is it a mix of native and introduced grasses, or is it
predominantly native for the summer grasses? I think it's hard to establish summer pastures here because when it dries out, they don't survive.
Right.
Whereas we have a lot more sown winter. Medics, clovers, stuff like that.
Yes.
I think the winter species survive better, but the summer ones aren't too bad. Here we get paspalum we got phalaris, which is a
phalaris, yes.
Yep, so that's been sown. That does alright in summer, but mainly your natives like your red grass, all your spear grasses, native millet, warrego grass. That's a good one.
Warrego.
High in protein. So very good mix here. We'd have easy sort of that sort of 8 to 15 different species depending on the time of the year all together, which is good. And that's why it is good breeding country. Some of those grasses aren't great for nutrition, but they're enough to keep things ticking along.
And are they all self-seeding grasses, or do you have to oversow, or what's
self-seeding. Self-seeding. So for the natives, I have put out a little bit of there's a new phalaris variety, an Australian phalaris.
Yes.
But it didn't seem to persist here. It did at the other block.
Yeah.
And a bit of chicory. I tried chicory, and same thing. It didn't persist for long. We get the few plants still pop up, but not enough to.
So when you sow here, are you broadcast seeding, or are you tilling, or are you line?
Yes.
All the above.
When I first come here, I bought an aerator, which goes on the back of the tractor, and I put seed boxes on that.
Yeah.
And it just chops the ground up a little bit, and
chucks the seeds in.
Yeah. The seeds vibrate in, and they're meant to fill the holes and grow, and that wasn't too bad. And then I bought a John Shearer disc seeder, 3 metre pasture drill.
Yeah.
And that did really well, and that was mainly good for your annuals, like your. I put a fair bit of oats in.
Yeah.
But it was just too hard on the machine here. This country's pretty hard for that. So I got rid of that. So now I just broadcast. I mix the seed in with the fertiliser and just flip it out on the back of a buggy.
Yeah.
So I bought that in 22 when it
Oh, the little buggy, the little ATV.
Yeah. Bolts on the back. You
Yep.
put about 40 kilos in and just...
Away you go.
Yeah, it was really wet, which is a good time to do it, so it sort of made sense to give that a go, and I think that's the way I'll stick with this country. It's just too steep, too many rocks.
Yeah.
Just so much, really. I'll just get to the top of this. Oh, you can get on the way back. I was just going to say there's quite a lot of water must have come down here when they first sort of started farming here, because there's dams in every gully not far apart. So
right.
And even here you can see they've tried to stop this gully washing out. So. That's a good way to see the soil types here. That's sort of, if you've got a little bit of that sort of pinky red in it, it does okay.
Yeah.
And you can see here, and you can see that even here, now that it's dried off, that's held on pretty well.
Yeah.
There's still a pretty good variety of grasses and weeds. But
right.
It's without the rain, it's still held on pretty well. And wasn't really hot, but we had a warm couple of weeks.
Yeah, it seems like you had a bit of a heat wave a week or two ago, so it would have browned things off too.
Yeah, it did, so. That's probably the worst fence on our place, so that's what you call just a cattle fence. It's just all plain wires with a top barb.
Right.
So that's not a lot of value there, but does the job for cattle, but no good for sheep.
Yeah.
So
what do the sheep do with it? They sneak under, do they?
Oh, they're gone, yeah.
They're out. Dorpers. They're a wily creature.
They like to go under things. That's what makes it hard to keep them in. So.
And that's why you've got that mesh at the bottom there, or no?
Yeah, so I'll show you. We'll get up here, and there's new fence that I put in. So it was all just cattle fence, and I put ring lock on it. And the biggest thing with Dorpers is barb on the bottom. Put a barbed wire on the ground.
Oh, to discourage them from
pushing under.
Yeah.
So all our boundaries, I've done that with, even the old netting. They've all got barb on the bottom now. And we cull on temperament. So if ewes are getting out all the time, they...
Oh, cull on temperament. I see that's quite a euphemism, isn't it? So it's a good view here. So our place pretty much runs to the tree line on top of the hill. Right, up in that hill up there, the trees up there.
Right through to, not the very back ridge, but the little one just in front of it. That's
the fore ridge there, the timbered area on that.
Yeah, so if you look out to the slot, you'll see the main ridge, and then there's a little ridge sort of just down off that, sort of a clear ridge. That's the top of ours as well. You can see our cattle in the background. That's our cows out the back there, the black dots on the back hill. So runs out to there. And as I said, very good. This is a great valley. This holds on amazingly.
Yeah.
And it is just that you'll see in the road, and that it's just that red dirt. No, very good for breeding stock. But a little bit slow. It takes us a full 12 months to get our lands to market value.
Yes.
To the best sale weight, whereas a lot of other breeds will do that in sort of 9 months.
Oh, and they're more of the fattening properties rather than the breeding properties like yours.
Yeah, and feedlotters will do it. But anyone that's got sort of floodplains or irrigation, they'll get their lands. They'll get their lands gone in 9 months.
Weaned lambs, okay.
Maybe 6 months average, I suppose. 5 to 7 months old.
So they'll be coming off 4 or 5 months from now.
Yeah, well, actually, Dorpers are doing it's funny that's why I've sort of stuck with them a bit.
Yeah.
Is it's dried off and they're doing really well. So they're probably some of the best lambs we've turned off the place.
Okay, so they're quite productive for what they've got. They can turn a reasonable average pasture into some.
Yeah, exactly. They're very good with the roughy stuff, but they've also depending on who you talk to, their conversion rate of feed is better than a lot of other breeds.
So they're kind of efficient with what they've got.
I forget the exact number.
Yeah.
But for example, Merino might need to eat 7 kilos of grass for 1 kilo weight gain, where these only need to eat 6.
Yeah.
So they're quite an efficient animal anyway.
Yeah.
So that windmill's feeds a trough at the bottom here.
Yep.
Just that paddock there, and then the next 2 paddocks
Yeah.
have got.
So is that a spring water? Was it a difference between spring and bore water? Is it the same thing? It's one needs a license, one doesn't. I don't know.
Well, all your stock and domestic don't need a license. If you need to put a bore in, you've got to register it.
Yes.
But it's not metered or anything, as long as you're only using it for drinking water.
Drinking water, right? You're not irrigating paddocks and that kind of big scale
So when they say
water
stock,
usage.
when they say stock and domestic, it's for watering livestock to drink.
Yep.
And for your home garden.
Right.
And your house. You can't use it to irrigate. You can't use it to do anything like that. So.
And Dorper are the only breed of sheep on the property. You don't have anything else.
No,
it's 100% Dorpers.
So these are Dorpers and white Dorpers. So, and we do run them as separate mobs.
Yeah.
So at Kookaburra we run at the moment 50 cows and 500 ewes.
Okay.
That's what we're running.
And that's the stocking capacity that you typically run,
yes,
or is
and
you
we
had
are
it?
very conservative.
Right.
We both Beth and I very much like to see things stay healthy, and as you can. It's good ground cover. Everything's doing what it should.
I haven't seen any strip paddocks or desperate pastures that's hanging on for grim death.
And you've also got to be careful too with Dorpers. The reason we run them is they lamb 3 times in 2 years.
Right.
So
whereas the regular one would be once a year.
Pretty much they join once a year.
Once a year.
You've got to be very careful because you can end up with a lot of lambs on the ground and get caught really quickly for not having enough feed. So we do run probably a bit light, but this place would be stocked at 50 cows and 500 ewes.
Yep.
And the previous owner used to run about 90 cattle.
Right. Oh,
they
just
cattle.
cattle.
They
cattle.
had no
Right.
sheep,
Okay.
So that's what it'd be, and that's sort of what most of the locals sort of say here. So it's a cow to every 10 acres. 10
acres, as a ratio for this sort of country.
So a cow to 10 acres and a ewe to 1.
Ewe to 1.
So we don't run
ewe per acre. Right, nothing like that. Okay.
No.
So and you got to be busy at lambing season if you've got Dorpers popping out lambs like.
It's I guess the hardest part about this sort of country is the worming. There is same as most of this what they call inside country. So good rainfall. We have a lot of trouble with barber's pole and scour worms and stuff like that. So we're drenching fairly regularly. Yeah. And that is it's a lot of work.
And do you bring in labour to help you out on this scale of property? Just if it was this property on its own, or you're happy to do it? You and Beth do the whole thing.
And the boys, my boys.
You got 2 boys.
Yeah,
okay.
2 boys.
Two boys. Okay. So it's a family farm.
It is, and it really is. It's you. I could not pay someone if I wanted to here. I wouldn't earn enough to pay it.
But it wouldn't be worth
it wouldn't be worth it.
So it runs on the labour of family involvement.
We're at the point where you could probably do bits and pieces and have someone part-time.
Yep.
And as we get older, we have sort of thought of different ways we could do that. But we're probably a little bit small to be doing that. I think another sort of 500 acres of reasonably productive country.
And you'd be...
and I could put on a part-timer.
Part-timer, yeah.
So that well's, it's only 6 metres deep. I only measured it not long ago to check the water because it is getting low, but it is still pumping. Pumps into those 2 tanks.
And then to this trough. And is there a float...
Yeah, just a float under that concrete end. See,
keeps a constant level of water in there for the
and another one that side. So concrete one there, and I just put a second one for the cattle. Like we haven't had cattle in that paddock, so the poly one is just a bit quicker to fill up and holds a bit more water. Cattle drink a lot compared to sheep.
Yeah.
So this is called Black Halls Creek. So it's purely seasonal. It's got 2 permanent water holes along that section there.
Yeah.
And they're still got water in them now, which is pretty impressive for them. But same thing, not enough for cattle, but okay for sheep.
Okay for sheep. Yeah. Okay.
Sheep get a lot more moisture out of their feed than cattle do.
Right. Yeah. Because is it something like 50 litres a day for cattle?
Cow and calf.
Cow and calf. Yeah.
Yep. And pretty much a ewe would only use 10 at the most. But
Yeah.
you sort of budget a year on that 5 or 6 litres if she's lactating. Like, yeah. So,
Yeah.
but these fellas here would be lucky to be drinking 500 mils a day.
Really?
So,
Oh, because they're getting it out of the feed.
yeah.
Yeah.
And cheap. That's why cheap food's quite dry.
Yes. They're extracting out of their
Yeah,
digestive system as it passes. So.
And it's amazing, you have sheep in yards all day and you think, oh, I'll get them on water straight away, don't they? And they don't even go for a drink, they just go straight for a feed. So,
Really?
yeah,
Okay. Well,
yeah, cattle on the other hand, they're
Right.
mob and trough.
Right.
Very different. So that boundary there, our boundary is just, I don't know if you can see the fence sort of.
Oh, running about halfway, third of the way up the hill?
Yeah. So that's all, what did we do that, 2019, end of 19, started 2020, that's all new. So that was put in when we bought the place as a cattle fence, and then we put more new wires and everything on it. So
Yeah.
it was all pretty much brand new at the start of 2020. I don't know if it's a thing that helps with valuation, but that's Sierra Escape, it's called, that block there. It's a 300-acre block that used to be part of this.
Right.
It's a glamping experience.
Oh, I saw that on the way in, but the tourism in the valley. So
he's won so many awards.
Yeah.
And he's done an amazing job with it. I think they started about $700 and something a night,
wow.
and up to $1,000 for the.
That's more than a value can afford.
He's doing really well out of it, and he's won. I think he got put into the Tourism Hall of Fame last year. So,
Right.
Yeah, he's a pretty clever man. But yeah,
Glamping.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so, I don't know if this will help either, but if our boundary is, if you look over to the left of the trees here, see how there's a brown paddock, and then there's no brown in the other side of it. You can almost see
the greenish.
Well, you see how there's sort of that dark brown patchy stuff.
Yes.
And then on the other side, you can almost see a straight line in the patches. That's that weed I was telling you about, St John's wort. So,
Oh, right.
so because he doesn't run stock, the weeds got away.
Oh, right. So obviously we're looking at your neighbour's property over the fence
over
there.
the fence.
Yeah. So
you
he's
see-
got. Well, you've got control of those weeds because the Dorper are
exactly
munching them down. Yeah.
That's why we don't just run cattle.
Yep.
Because the sheep do control that weed.
Okay.
pretty
So
well,
it's sort of
manage them.
bit of the mixed grazing is an advantage in terms of those sort of things. And
I would love to run only cattle. I
yeah.
think I'd pay. Oh God.
Tell me why is that?
The Dorpers are a lot of manual handling, like land marking, drenching, and they're not designed for that. They are very good in the Western country for that because you don't have to handle them much. I don't know what to say my age, but I'm not getting younger.
Well, none of us are really. Yeah.
It's cattle are easier.
Yeah.
There's not as much physical labour in it. There's still a lot of work. Don't get me wrong, but
Yeah.
not
And this
as
is
much.
one of your dams here for this.
Yeah. So that one didn't dry up in the drought.
Right.
So it's spring fed,
Yes.
and you can almost see. Down there, and we'll come back along there. You can actually see where it runs in almost all year round. It does sort of stop and start at ground level,
Yeah.
but you can see where the spring is, and it just runs into that gully.
And have you designed your paddock arrangement so there's a watering point in every single paddock, or not always?
No, always. Yeah,
Always. So
yeah,
every
yeah,
paddock has a
every
water
paddock.
point.
And we've actually gone to the point where we want a trough and a dam
In every
in every
arranged
paddock.
paddock.
Yeah. Trough water is cleaner, I feel.
Yeah.
Because-
Well,
Yeah.
so these guys are mixing up the water when they're marching towards the banks. Or is it just because of the flow, the turbidity in the water that's flowing in?
It's more the feral animals, pigs.
Oh,
deer,
really?
Yep.
Okay.
But even the native ducks, they spread a disease which can affect them as well. So it's
Learn
the
something
disease-
new every day.
Yeah,
No
so
ducks with it.
I can't remember what the disease is called, but they
Yeah.
can spread it, and the growth rate in lambs in particular will be terrible. It's you think they've got worms or something, but
Yes.
it's actually I forget what it is. But yeah, it's so yeah. I quite like the idea of troughs. Now, what would a tour of a Dorper property be
Yes.
if there wasn't sheep out in the wrong paddock?
Oh, someone's escaped.
If there was sheep there,
Yes.
I'm pretty sure
Oh, it's on the
there
wrong
is.
side of your fence there. Okay. Well, let's
So,
attend to that. We can't have.
oh, that'll be right for a little while.
Oh, okay. All right.
I'll sort
Okay.
them out on a
I mean,
motorbike
that's
later, but it
that's-
wouldn't be a Dorper farm if I didn't
right.
show sheep on the
They're
wrong side of the
they're
fence.
cunning sheep.
They are. A neighbour who runs Merino said something about getting into Dorpers. He said, are they less work? And I said, well, you've either got to like fencing or shearing, you decide which one. So
Oh,
it is a
okay.
constant thing patching holes, especially because of the kangaroos.
Yes.
They constantly push under the
So
fence.
if you had to list off the challenges with feral pests, you've got wild pigs.
Yep. So wild pigs would probably be, and foxes would be our
Are they
worst
predating on the lambs themselves and using those as foods and attacking?
Definitely.
Yeah.
So we don't get them as much here.
Yep.
The other block, because Pine Bond Creek is better water supply, they live on that more.
Yeah.
And we are not getting anywhere near the percentage of lambing that we're getting here.
Yeah.
And we think that's the main reason, is the pigs.
The pigs, yeah. And then the foxes, are they an issue with the lambs as well?
Definitely, we fox bait pretty much.
Because I noticed you had the 1080 signs up there.
We bait probably 6 times a year.
Wow.
So we try, because we...
So, out of interest, what does it cost you to bait for one of those sessions out of the 6? Is that $100 worth of bait, or is it more?
Easily. It's pretty much $1 a bait. And I put out maybe, say 150, but that's conservative. But each session.
Yep.
So you sort of bait every 2 weeks for 6 weeks.
Right.
And then you'll do that again sort of in between the lambing, then you do it leading up. We sort of lamb nearly all year round.
Because your daubers are so prolific. Yeah.
Yeah, we used to leave the rams in, but the winters here are too cold. It's too hard.
Okay.
So we take.
So in terms of rams, you've mentioned the number of views you've got on here. Do you have visiting rams, or are there resident rams here?
No, at the moment I've got 20 rams.
20 rams, and they're obviously fenced off separately.
They're in that paddock.
They're okay.
Driveway. And actually, there's 4 new ones in the yards. I went to.
Yeah.
That's where it was yesterday. So. So foxes have generally been our biggest worry, but you can sort of do something about them with bait.
Yeah.
Whereas the pigs, you can't really. You sort of got.
Is it just shooting or?
Shooting. So yeah, I've spent a lot of time and trapping.
Trapping. Okay.
You can poison them, but you've got to feed them up for a few days beforehand.
To get them comfortable with the idea that it's not, because they're quite anxious about.
Yeah. Well, they've got to eat so much of it.
Oh,
so
really? That's quantity. Oh, I see. Right. So you get them used to the.
Whereas a fox, it's just one bait and they're gone. Whereas
a
pig, you've got to be careful, because if you don't do it properly, they get a half dose and then they won't take baits ever again.
Right. They're wise up to it. Yeah.
So yeah, this is Blackwell's Creek, and it's got a couple of water holes, as you can see. Still got water in it. Starting to get pretty ordinary now. The cattle in here knock it around, so.
Yeah.
But we try and use the cattle too. They eat more of that tall, rough stuff than sheep do. So it's nice to clean that up occasionally. Most of the blocks out here now are sort of like that, 300 acres, so that glamping block's about that, I think, and there's 5 tents on it. You can see people up there now.
Yeah, so the land in the area is chopped up into 3.
It's almost become lifestyle blocks out here.
Yeah, so you're one of the last sort of productive at scale sort of grazing properties before.
Productive, so
yeah, well,
my wife works on farm, let's say that, so I'm very lucky to do
your
this.
family unit, you've got the sons, are they full-time involved, part-time?
Oh, they're obviously still at school.
Yeah.
So
right. Okay.
They're free labour.
Oh, they're free labour. They're paying for the room and board.
Yeah,
right.
They're 14 and 16.
Yeah.
And they.
Do you have a school bus that comes up the road here, or do you have to drop them in town?
So where the bitumen ended.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So 8 k's down the road.
Yeah.
So Angus cows.
Angus, and they're all Angus.
All Angus.
All Angus.
It's probably not our preferred breed, but that's what the market's after. And and that said, the growth rates are good. Like they grow well. They do well in our country here.
And we're looking at a mother and calf here.
Yes. Yep. So he's almost weanable. So when
So he's currently with mum.
So that's a cow and calf unit. You would call that.
Yeah.
Yep. And then he'll be weaned probably in the next week or two. Actually, he's getting quite large. And you can see how she's not getting skinny, but it takes a toll on him.
I can see her ribs a little.
Yeah. So she's in good nick, but she's actually only young, so she's only a red tag. So
that might be her first calf.
It would be actually red tag. Yeah,
red tag. Okay.
But you can see they're doing quite well. So
yeah, nice.
This dam's getting a bit light on too by the look of that. So fingers crossed for some rain next week.
Yeah, well, hopefully the cyclone dumps something for you. So.
You wouldn't say they're struggling too much, these cows, but 50 of these. So
50 of these.
Yep.
And in terms of breeding, do you have a bull that's brought in as a visitor, or?
No, he stays all year round with the cattle.
Oh, he stays all round. Okay, keeping them.
The cattle don't suffer from the winter like the lambs, so we just leave the bull in. That way he can cover sort of 50. If you had 50 and only put him in for the 8-week joining time, you might not get across them all.
Cross them all, yes.
So because we're that borderline, we need 1 or 2. We just leave one in all year round.
Yep.
But we are about to go to hopefully 60 cows.
Right.
We're trying to increase the cows a little bit. So
does that mean you have to back off on the dorper, or you just So you're carrying capacity.
So instead of 50 cows, 500 ewes, I'll do 60 cows, 400 ewes.
Got it.
So I'll back. It's just getting that balance right. Of cleaning this stuff up because the sheep won't eat it.
Yeah.
And I'll go up to that fence. So this is our back boundary.
So if I just wanted to have a little look, see where we are here now. So we've come from obviously the main entry. We've come all the way back. Where's this? My finger. Is this little road here? I think.
Yep. And we've come. Tricking me even. We've crossed, opened the gate close to this boundary here.
Yep.
Now we've just come along. That was that spring-fed dam.
Yes.
It's come through out to this back paddock, and that's actually not quite right. So that's that dam we just went past.
Oh, some of these lines on Six Portal, they don't sit right exactly over where they should.
You can actually almost see the different shading, but unfortunately, not that it's a big deal, but that dam is split in the middle.
Oh, the boundary goes down the middle.
There is a fence through the middle of the creek. It's
well, that's probably a surveyor spotted that later in the day, did they?
Yeah, well, that's what happened. So that used to be part of this, and then when they got older and retired, which is how we'd make our money.
Yeah.
They sold 300 acres there, and that used to be theirs as well, but another 300 acres. Nanth, his name is, lovely bloke. He bought that 300 acres, and he lives in Sydney, comes up most weekends or whenever he can, I think. So that's why this boundary fence, and right through here, right out to the back corner, is all new, because when they sold it, so when we bought it, they just put these fences in, because they had to do it on the actual boundary line to be able to sell it.
Oh, right. So the surveyor came in and said your fences aren't right where they need to be.
Yeah, well, to sell it, and there's headaches for everyone that buys it. So that's a good fence. So I think there's 6 barbs in that, and what they call tough knot.
Right.
Probably don't want to get me started on different types of fencing. So, but that's
we don't want to spoon feed our students. They've got to work this out.
So anyway, that's very good boundary fence out through here. So so that's. Cow and calf thing, they're doing quite well.
Very good.
Relaxed and spread out. Now I can't really go along that back boundary in this, sorry.
That's fine. No, we don't want to be, we haven't got the ATV here, so that's...
It's a bit steep.
So we'll proceed back now to the...
I can go back out and show you the back boundary.
Yeah, for sure.
That back boundary.
Yeah, no, far out. I like
through that gate and head towards the house.
Essentially all we need to do is make sure we've got a really good cross-section of pastures.
Well, we'll cross the creek and I'll show you, because the back piece is pretty...
So these grasses waving in the breeze here in front of our Land Cruiser, what species
That's
are they?
Parramatta grass or rat's tail grass.
Parramatta grass, okay.
So,
and it's a native, isn't it? From the sounds of it.
Yes, so you can see why they call it rat's tail.
Oh, well, it looks a bit like a tail, doesn't it?
And great feed when it's fresh.
Yes.
For sheep. But it loses nutrition quick. So once it's at seed, it's pretty much just
finished.
hay.
It's
it's
just
straw. Sorry,
comfort feeding only.
So that's the bull. So Beth.
Where's our bull? This big chap up here.
Yeah,
okay.
He's from Tamworth, that fella. Beth chases all the bulls for us. So he's only a young fella.
And he's doing his job.
Yeah, he's grown. He was only just over a year old when we bought him, which is young for a bull.
Yeah.
And he's grown into
a handsome chap with plenty of work on his hands.
Yeah, so we turn our steers and heifers, if they're not up to what we want, like if they're not our type, at 400 kilos, and we're sort of hitting that early with cattle, which is why we're sort of starting to lean that more. I think I'd like to eventually be at 80 cows and 200 ewes.
Right, and it's a better balance for
that. Well, the cattle seem to do well. The lambs here, with the worms, with the predation, it takes a toll on your percentages.
Yes.
Whereas the cattle, very much slower breeders, but seem to do pretty well in this country, we're finding. So our calves are hitting that 400 kilos at sort of 11, 12 months, which is pretty good going.
Wow. Okay.
There's a pet cow in here that's never had a calf. The oldest boy raised her.
Oh no! And they gave her a name.
Blackberry. Yeah. Oh. She's a star of the tours.
That's why I said my wife would never be a farmer. She'd name the cows, and we could never sell them.
Well, she's actually been a massive draw card for Beth's Farm Tours.
Okay. She comes up. Well, that's why she's earning a keep. She's a tourism.
So. Predation here is hard on sheep and pigs and foxes.
What about weather, frost and cold weather events?
Yeah, well that's why we don't lamb in June, July anymore.
It's too harsh.
We pretty much don't lamb until September now.
Yeah.
Early September, so it was just too hard on them. Hard on mum trying to eat enough to keep warm.
Yeah.
And provide milk, so we just cut that out.
Right.
So we pretty much lamb all year round except winter. So we have an autumn lambing and a spring lambing.
Right. That sounds labour intensive. So from a fertiliser perspective, you're saying you're doing this on a semi-regular basis, or there are some paddocks that...
No, I've probably done half of both places twice in 12 years.
Right, okay. And is that because when you're experimenting with it, or is it just that?
Much, yeah. Yep.
Because it's cost and benefit, isn't it, really?
It is, exactly. It is. And I think I can see benefit in just broadcasting it with a bit of seed off the back of the buggy, because it's cheaper to run, I can get around a bit quicker.
Yeah.
And there's no real wear and tear on any machinery, but I don't think you'd want to do it too much. And I think if you graze not too hard, you can get away with not doing as much fertiliser.
Right, okay, so that's your balance. Is keeping the stocking conservative and saving the money on the fertiliser.
Yeah. And I think the same as everyone, just trying to get that balance right. But
yeah. And do you look at long range weather forecasts from the Bureau, and does that factor into any of your farm decisions, or is there something that's someone reliable you don't worry about?
I do, but because you asked me not to swear, I'm not going to talk about the Bureau. No, we do, and it's a grain of salt thing. They can't, and you can't expect them to.
No, it's not. They're models and they're open to sort of variation and outcome.
2019 was at the end of 2017, they were saying it was going to be a wet summer, so a lot of blokes held on to stock. Built stock numbers.
Right, and 2019 was the worst season in 10 years.
By 2019, it started at 2017.
2017? Oh, it ran on for multiple.
It was nearly 2 years for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And that was, and you can't, it's predicting the weather's
it's
hard,
most game.
On rain.
Yep.
On rain, but 2017 they said it was going to be a wet summer, and then the rain just never came. So, but they do a reasonable job. I think it is hard to do, and we do look at it a lot. So, landline every Sunday they do that, and then they do a 3 monthly forecast as well. So,
and what about beef and lamb prices? That factor into decisions on the farm as well, or what can you do once you've got your mix of stock? You're stuck with that.
Not really. I guess for us, because it is only breeding country, a lot of people trade stock. I don't think our country's quite good enough for that. You could a bit, maybe steers, but you could, not for us, because it's especially with beef prices, it's like you're looking, it's a 9.5 month gestation, and then you're not selling until they're 11 months. So
you've made your bet.
So can a little bit with sheep, like you can sort of hang on to a couple extra, like instead of like I said, we've got 100 ewes in that front paddock. Ewe lambs that are already old enough to breed. If we get this big rain, then we might join them, and we can have a lamb out of them and gone. They can be joined, lamb down, lamb weaned in less than 12 months.
Right.
And you can sort of work out here that even with an average year, we could hold an extra 200 ewes for 12 months. And that's probably a good thing about running a bit light. You've got a bit of feed in front of you.
So you've got wiggle room with that stocking rates, depending on
this cattle's a bit harder, just a bit slower.
The
slower turnaround.
Very.
I'll show you where the old boundary was. So that's pretty much new fence all the way down into this corner. then I'll show you the boundary netting fence, because I guess that's important too. So.
Okay.
Yeah, I put oats in this a couple of years.
Yeah.
But just found the cedar wasn't. You don't realise how rough that ground is.
Oh, in terms of the.
Yeah, the press wheels weren't putting the seed in the ground properly, so I wasn't getting great germination rates, and I worked out the cost of putting it in probably wasn't covering the benefits I was getting from the feed. So.
Right.
But this is the other type of soil here. So this back corner it is. And
so is this the?
This is more that loamy sort of clay stuff. So that's probably not, that white stuff's not exactly what you're after. So that stuff on the road there is not.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. See how it's sort of that bit clay. It's clay basically. So it's not. And this back corner doesn't grow as much. You'll see the sheep camp up on that dam area. So. Not that it's terrible, but it's yeah. In this area, I don't know about other areas obviously, but in this area that ready stuff sort of so
that's the prime stuff. Yeah.
And it can change quick. The neighbour come over the first time and did a lap. He come through the back boundary and come to the house to say good day. Yeah. And his place is all pretty much all shale.
Oh, okay. Right.
Well, his block's called Gallipoli for a reason.
Okay.
it's pretty rough.
It's fighting a losing battle.
It really is. But yeah, so it's hard in this country because the soil types change quick, and there's hills. That's what hills do. So, so that's the old boundary fence, which I haven't put all down yet. So
this one here, right? They're sitting off the grass.
Obviously, they fenced that little scrub bit out.
Yep.
And they owned all of it.
Right.
So then, when they subdivided it, they had to fence to the boundary lot. That's typical of all our boundary fence. So
So
it's old
timber post with the odd bit of.
The
star pickets.
It's probably the only one still with timbers.
Oh, okay. Most of them are all star pickets.
Yeah. But yeah, that netting is pretty much the standard for our boundary, which is holding up. But as you can see, I've got to tie logs in occasionally, and I've put a barbed wire on the bottom, which you can see there for the sheep. So, but that's what kangaroos do.
Right. Oh, they're burrowing down there.
They burrow under to get in. And
And in terms of the impact on pasture for kangaroos grazing around here, is that significant? Massive.
The drought was terrible for that. So we bought this in 2017, and then they destocked it. So we actually had quite a bit of feed going into the drought, which was very lucky for us.
Right. So you bought just before the drought. At the drought start.
Yeah, which wasn't great either, but we held on okay.
Yeah.
But the kangaroo pressure was. We had mobs of 500, but I'd quite often see 2 mobs of 500 plus. So over 1,000
Are there government shooters working in this area that manage kangaroo?
Not
numbers?
Government shooters. There's private shooters that get paid for it.
Yeah.
But the kangaroos weren't worth much. So for me to shoot a kangaroo, I've got to apply through National Parks and Wildlife.
Right.
And I get what's called a tag. It's not a physical tag.
Yep.
But I get a number that I'm allowed to shoot based on how many hectares I've got.
Yeah.
And I had to do that in the drought, and it was terrible. The kangaroos were literally starving to death in the paddock. It was terrible.
So they're all kangaroos and stock fighting it out for the remaining
Pretty
feed.
much, it really was.
So you're saying that this type of boundary fencing is not typical on the property?
No, this is typical. This is probably one of the older ones though.
Right.
It's still got the timber post.
Right.
Whereas out the back there's no timber
post. Got it.
But it's typical of one barb, plain wire, netting on the bottom.
Yeah.
So that's very typical. Well, I don't think there's any timber. I'll get up to this corner.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much what our boundary is on. So this section here.
So where are we now? Let's have a bit of a look.
We are coming back down along here.
Right, at the bottom.
So we've come down around here, check that dam out, cross the creek, we're going back along here.
Yep.
There's a fence, we'll follow back down to that gate.